Out the big announcement. As you guys know, I'm back into training, I'm back lifting weights, I'm getting stronger and stronger each and every week. The big announcement is I'm competing again. And you're probably wondering, competing in what? I am, to begin with, as you guys know, doing the Rogue Invitationals this month. I'm also going to compete in powerlifting again. December 3rd is the day that I'm gonna come back and compete in powerlifting.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, some more information, some interesting information about the pro debut of Michael Krizo, which will be at this weekend's EVLS Prague Pro. So as you guys probably know, Michael Krizo has been the talk of the bodybuilding industry lately, recently earning his pro card at the Olympia Amateur in Italy just a few short weeks ago, and now he will be attempting to make his pro debut and qualify for the 2022 Mr. Olympia. Now, we finally got the competitor list for the men's open category at that Prague Pro, and we're going to kind of try to answer the question, is Michael Krizo going to have a challenge here? And before I get started, I think the answer to that question is yes. So here's the lineup. You've got Kokeni Bela, Pavel Baron, Louis Breed, Adolf Berghardt, Pavel Cervinka, Enrico Hoffman, Vladimir Iakolov, Michael Krizonik, which is Michael Krizo, Ahmad Mahmoud, Milan Sadik, Marian Sramko, and Jan Turk. So the names that kind of stand out to me right off the bat are obviously Michael Krizo, Milan Sadik, Jan Turk, but specifically Enrico Hoffman. And I'm going to tell you guys why, and a lot of you guys might not realize this. So Enrico Hoffman is an interesting bodybuilder in this lineup for a number of reasons, but the primary reason is because he has already beaten Michael Krizo. Now, I was talking to his coach, Max. I was talking to Enrico's coach, Max, and he's actually telling me about the fact that when Enrico won his pro card back in 2017, it was in Prague, and he beat Krizo. So the question going into this show is, would it be a challenge for Krizo? Would there be anybody in this lineup that could beat Krizo? But the answer to that question is there's somebody in this lineup that has already beaten him. So this is kind of a full circle moment for Michael Krizo and Enrico, and you guys might remember a couple weeks ago, the Tsunami Pro in Italy. In that first call out, that's where we last saw Enrico. He was the guy, the shorter guy, that I kept talking about how great his conditioning was, how I was surprised he didn't place higher. I would have liked to see him in third at that show. If you guys have not watched my recap of that Tsunami Pro, which was the show that James Hollingshead won to qualify for the Olympia, go back and watch that, and you can see how Enrico looked at that show. I thought he was extremely impressive. In fact, he was originally planning on competing as a 212 competitor, but made this last-minute decision to compete as an open bodybuilder, and I think that was a really good decision for him. Because conditioning-wise, he's really competitive, and the more that I thought about it, the more that I thought the main strong point for Michael Krizo, from what I've seen, hasn't necessarily been crazy conditioning. It's that he's a mass monster. That is his strength. He's huge. So if we were looking at somebody that was potentially going to beat Michael Krizo at this show, I don't think it would be somebody that's bigger than him. I don't think it would be somebody that's going to out-muscle him. I think it would be somebody that could out-condition him. And that's what we could see from Enrico. If Michael Krizo is not sharp, or he comes in off, and Enrico comes in looking as good or better than he looked at that Tsunami Pro, that's the scenario that could be created where Krizo doesn't win the show. Granted, I still have a lot of faith in Michael Krizo. I really think he is the real deal. I think the potential in him is legitimate. I think the hype with him is legitimate. I do think he does have one of those physiques that's just like a once-in-a-lifetime. This guy's a freak. This guy's a mass monster. This guy can win pro shows. He can get in shape. And I do think he can get to the Olympia, and I do think he could be top 10 at the Olympia. But do I think that this Prague Pro, his pro debut, is going to be a show that he can just steamroll the competition? I don't. I think we are going to get to see a really good battle on this stage, especially considering the fact this is the rematch, and Michael Krizo was the one that lost the last round. So once I found this out, I had to talk about this in a video because I think it makes his pro debut so much more exciting, that the guy that he's got to go up against is a guy that already beat him, Enrico Hoffman. So this is a name to look out for, and that's going to be kind of the story of this weekend, is can Michael Krizo win round 2 against Enrico Hoffman in the IFBB Pro League? Now, next up in the news, I want to take a look at these physique updates from Brett Wilkin at 3 weeks out from the Romania Muscle Fest Pro, which will be the last qualifying opportunity for the 2022 Mr. Olympia. So first of all, I want to say I think Brett looks great. He's working with Matt Jansen. I think he's got a really strong shot at winning this show. I think he could still be a factor in the Olympia if he qualifies here. Based on what we're seeing here, I think he's definitely put on some size. He's definitely made some improvements. You can see he's in really good shape. You can see that abdominal wall from the side. The serratus muscles are looking really defined. But I also wanted to point this out because the Romania Muscle Fest just being 3 weeks away, it could be another opportunity for Michael Krizo. If he doesn't win in Prague, he could go on to do that show and still potentially have the opportunity to get to the Olympia stage. So I wanted to point that out because while everybody's looking forward to this big pro debut of Michael Krizo, how's he going to do against actual pros in the IFBB Pro League? Even if he doesn't win that show, for whatever reason, he's still got this opportunity in Romania to go on and try to get to the Olympia. So that's kind of the thing that I wanted to reinforce, is that if he doesn't win this weekend, it doesn't necessarily mean he's done, and we could still get to see him again in a couple short weeks. And that could be an even more interesting one, is him compared to Brett Wilkin. And you guys might remember that was a suggestion that we heard Blessing make a couple weeks ago when Michael Krizo actually earned his pro card. He wants to see Krizo go against some top-level pros, and I think Brett Wilkin is certainly one of them. But again, I want to stress that because I think if for whatever reason, like I said earlier, if Krizo doesn't win this Prague Pro, I think his issue is going to be conditioning. I really don't think he's going to have any issue with size against really anybody in the Pro League. But if he does lose the show, I think it's because he was either off or just somehow missed his peak and just wasn't in shape, and that could be something he could improve upon if he had a couple more weeks to prep for something like Romania. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think that we got a really strong shot, honestly, at seeing Krizo on the Olympia stage, but I'm excited for this weekend. I hope you guys are as well, and let me know your predictions in the comment section down below. Will Krizo get to the Olympia stage before December? All right, now next up in the news, Hafthor Bjornsson. So a couple days ago, we got an update from Hafthor where he announced that he was going to be quitting boxing. So it looks like we're not going to be seeing the rematch with him and Eddie Hall. It looks like we're also not going to be seeing the fight that was kind of promised between him and Tyson Fury. He said really his heart's not in it. He doesn't really have the passion for it, and he wants to get back to focusing on lifting, competitive lifting, specifically strongman. And now he announced that he's going to be focusing on powerlifting. And on December 3rd, according to his most recent YouTube video, he says he's going to be doing a full powerlifting meet raw, squat, bench press, and deadlift. And he's shooting for over 1,000 kilo total, which I think is going to be very interesting to see because obviously as he got into boxing and progressed into this new style of training, he lost over 100 pounds of body weight. He is not the same Hafthor that we saw that weighed like 450 plus pounds when he broke the deadlift world record. So I'm curious to see where his strength is at and what his body weight's going to be when he does this powerlifting meet, because I don't really know, where he still stands, if he is as lean as he was when he fought Eddie. Because I think it's evident that he's clearly still leaner than he was back when he did the world record deadlift. But I'm pretty curious to see how this goes for him. He's going to be competing in the Rogue Invitational here in a couple weeks, trying to break that toss record. But I think that's going to be interesting for strength sports fans because keep in mind, Thor is only 34 years old, despite how long he's been around. He's still relatively pretty young. He could have a pretty bright future still ahead of him in whatever competitive avenue he chooses to pursue. So if he does really well in this powerlifting meet in December, I'm interested to see what his next move is going to be. And I'm curious to know what Eddie Hall is thinking or how he's feeling in the back of his mind, knowing that he's not going to get this rematch with Thor, because that's the way that it's looking like. Thor is done completely with the fight game. Now, next up in the news, we had a couple interesting stories coming out of this Dubai Muscle Fest this weekend. If you guys were invested in that 212 show, a lot of people wanted to see the comeback of Mahmoud Al-Dora. We've got the scorecards for that show, and Mahmoud, he wound up in a tie for last place. So it wasn't that great of a comeback, but if you guys were interested in how that went for him, that is where he placed. And the winner of that show wound up being Mazen Al-Rabi, who took first place, and Muhammad Khalid Mbabe is the guy that took second. So that was a 212 show. It was a stacked 212 lineup. The scorecard was just, as you can see, very long list of long names. So there was that aspect of the Dubai Muscle Show, but there's also the aspect of all these different celebrities from all corners of the fitness industry coming together, and we got to see a lot of them. One of them, Sergio Oliva Jr., who I think is looking bigger than ever, and that's a guy, one of my favorite bodybuilders, honestly, one of my favorite current competitive pros, because of his physique and also because of his lineage. We don't have really ever this Olympia champion lineage, a guy that won the Olympia, Sergio Oliva Sr., having an extremely competitive professional bodybuilding son that has a fantastic physique. So for that reason, Sergio has always been one of my favorite pros, and I'm really excited to see him come back. I want to see him compete again. In these latest updates or these latest images and training videos that we've seen of him in Dubai, he looks really big. He looks really good, and I'm excited to see him come back and compete. And he's training with Roelly in these updates. And that's another thing that a lot of people have been speculating about for a long time now, is all the recent photos and videos that we've seen of Roelly. Certainly not the Roelly that we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing a full-blown 3D round, crazy-looking Roelly. The best arms, some say the best arms ever in professional bodybuilding. Specifically his triceps. That was what he was known for, and lately we've seen a much more downsized, much healthier, streamlined-looking version of Roelly. And then you see him next to Sergio, and Sergio really completely dwarfs Roelly. So it kind of still begs the question, is Roelly retired? Why is he downsizing? And again, I'm definitely supportive of him if he is choosing to downsize, because obviously that's going to contribute to better longevity for him, a healthier lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I had heard that rumor that he still wants to try to get to the 2023 Olympia, so maybe he's just taking a break and not necessarily retiring in full. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you leave a like, leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.
Dancing in the good light, everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Dancing in the good light, everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Everybody's dancing in